Hey everyone, and welcome to another one of my videos. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today we are going to be doing a Q&A. We have had a lot of changes in our life lately. We usually live in South Africa. I'm Australian though, and long story short, I accidentally got a visa ban. We had to come back to Australia to kind of have that lifted and redo my visa. But that was just before COVID-19 and everything went to lockdown. So that was in February. We've been here since then, and we found out we are going to have another baby. So I'm now 21 weeks pregnant, and so I guess there are a lot of things that have changed for us. So I went over onto Instagram where I asked everybody if there were things that they wanted to know. So we're just going to go through those questions, and I hope it's going to be an informative video. Let's get to it. Oh, if you don't follow me on Instagram, head on over there. I will leave the link in my description and the handle here, because I do post a lot more on Instagram, and when I ask questions and things like that for Q&As, I often do it on there. So it'll be nice to come join us over there. So a lot of these questions have to do on whether we are living in Australia now or going back to South Africa, and kind of what the situation is. So the first question is, are you planning to move to Australia? This is such a big question because over a lot of years, so I've been in Australia, I've been in South Africa for 8 years now, and we had tried to move to Australia once before. It didn't work out because of things that happened in the family, and we had to move back to South Africa to kind of help out with family businesses and things like that. We would like to maybe in the future kind of live between the two countries. For now, at this point in our lives, we do really love Australia, but we also really love South Africa. We have just been here for the past, I think it's been 5 months, or 4.5 months. So we are actually hoping to go back to South Africa. It just kind of all depends on lockdown and the travel restrictions and how far along we'll be in our pregnancy, or in my pregnancy, to kind of indicate us on when we can kind of go back. Then the next one is, do you plan on coming back to SA? So SA is short for South Africa. Yes, we would like to come back. We don't know if it's going to be for the long run, if it's just going to be for a year or two, if it's just going to be for a couple of months to try and sort out our lives before we come back here. My husband is a permanent resident of Australia, so we got that going 2.5 years ago, I think it was. And as we got here, a month into being here, he got approved for permanent residency from temporary residency. So yay, that is super exciting, but it does mean that out of the next 5 years, 2 of those years we have to be staying in Australia. So whether that means coming back regularly for a few months or weeks at a time, or actually moving, I'm really not sure, but we are definitely going back to South Africa. Why did we move? So we didn't exactly officially plan on moving, and we haven't actually officially moved to Australia, but it was because of my visa ban. So I am a citizen of Australia and Germany, and I don't want to give up a citizenship, and I think Germany might potentially make me give up my citizenship if I apply for the South African one. So I've just been on a visa there for 8 years, different visas of course, and I accidentally overstayed it, and it's a really big issue. I got a visa ban when I left the country in immigration, and I had to do an appeal to have that lifted, and it's literally been back and forth with Home Affairs so many times to try and sort this out, and we finally got confirmation that the ban has been waived. They are just waiting for the supervisor at Home Affairs there to sign off the piece of paper so that they can give it to me, so that we can go and apply for my new visa. So that's really exciting news. Another one is, where did you move from? We're immigrating from SA to Oz. Okay, so yes, South Africa, Australia, I originally moved to South Africa, but now we're actually not moving back right now. But good for you. Immigrating is a great life opportunity. It gets you to see the world in a different kind of way and give you different opportunities. I think it can be really difficult sometimes, and the grass is not always greener on the other side, but good for you. That is very exciting, and I wish you the best of luck. How long did it take you to conceive baby number 2? So it felt like it took forever. I just remember month after month, it felt like it took a really long time. But in actual fact, I think it was literally only just over 2 months. I mean, just over 4 months. I know that that's not a very long time in the greatest scheme of things, especially when there are people out there who are struggling to conceive for like years and years at a time. I can't imagine going through that. I just know that for me, it felt like it took a seriously long time, even though it didn't really take that long. I think I was just not expecting it because with our first daughter, we didn't really even have to try. It was just like, okay, we said this month, cool, let's give it a go. And then the next month we found out we were pregnant. So only 4 months. Then somebody asked, how quick would you say your family adjusted to moving countries? Because we haven't really officially moved, I can kind of only speak from my experience of moving to South Africa from Australia. And that took me a really, really long time. I remember for the first 3 years, I think it was, I was struggling a lot, and I really wanted to come back, culture differences, language differences, just trying to settle into a different country where you don't understand how things work and everything is so different. It took me a really, really long time. If I would say, it's a bit biased if I'm saying like how long it would take us to adjust here, because I am Australian, I know how it works. We've been to this country, almost every year for the past 8 years to visit my family here. So we kind of know Australia. It's not like it's a totally foreign country where we've never been before and now we have to, make friends and we don't have family. So it's a very different situation. I think if we were to move here, it would take us a lot quicker. I think we've been here for now 4.5 months, and I think at the 4-month mark, I was like, okay, cool. We're finally settling in. Things are getting into routine. Our daughter's just started pre-kindy for the past 2 weeks. So it kind of feels like we're settling in. So if we were to stay here and not go back for whatever reason, because of travel, the traveling situation or not being able to find tickets or quarantine, things like that, then I'd say, I don't know, 5 months, half a year, something like that. But when I moved to South Africa, it took me a really, really long time to settle in. There are a lot of questions on like, why did you move? Are you staying here? So I think I've answered those ones. I'm not going to answer them again. Do you plan on giving birth in SA if the lockdown is over by then? So I'm not sure, because now they're on level 3 lockdown, if I'm not mistaken, and things are starting to open, but I know the cases are really bad. The day before yesterday, I think it was recorded that there were 10,000 new cases, and I think the day before that was 7,000. So they're kind of on their peak at the moment, which does make me really nervous. We haven't booked tickets, we haven't got my new visa yet or anything like that. So ideally, I would like to have this baby in South Africa just because our home is there and I feel like I'd be more comfortable. And we have someone helping us at home. So that would just take a lot of pressure off of us, I think. And I miss our home, so I would like to, but I don't want to have another hospital birth. If you haven't seen that video on my previous hospital experience, having our daughter, then go check it out. I'll put the little banner thing up here, or you can check it out in the link in the description. I had a really bad hospital experience, so I'd like to do a home birth. But it kind of all depends, because the hospital here in Australia seems awesome and I kind of don't want to miss out on that experience, but I also want to go back. I don't know if that answers the question. Another one is, how do you discipline Ava? So we have always come from a point of like gentle parenting, but with strict boundaries. So if we were to need to use like discipline, I would go down to her level and explain the situation and kind of just like talk to her about it and see where her emotions are coming from. So I feel like a lot of the time as parents and as adults, we kind of misunderstand what the situation is. At least for myself, I found that like I'd sometimes say, why, like what happened? Like you can't do something like that. And then when she'd explain it to me, she was actually trying to do something else. It was just a mistake, or she didn't understand something properly. So we would just sit her down, explain to her that this isn't how things work and we need to always use kindness. We always talk. We don't use the naughty chair or spanking or anything like that. I just talk to her. in kindness and explain the situation. Ask her if she needs a hug or a cuddle. Sometimes she doesn't. She just kind of wants to be left alone, and we'll ask her, to apologize if she's done something on purpose that was wrong. And she might not always do it immediately, but she'll come back in her own time and say, I'm sorry, mummy, I'm sorry, daddy. And then, not to force her to say sorry or anything, but just for her to understand that whatever happened was not the right way or the way that we would do things in our family. So I'd say we use like gentle parenting and gentle methods, but with boundaries in place so that she knows where we stand together, and kind of she understands the rules and the structure of the way that we do things in our household and in society in general, kind of help her to distinguish what's right versus wrong. I hope that answers that question. Someone says, you're a stay-at-home mom, what does Vaughan do for a living? So Vaughan is a financial planner. He also does property management, and this is in South Africa. That's his career. He loves it. He loves finance and he enjoys working. So that's that. When are you coming back to SA, and will you have the new baby in Oz? Okay, so I'll answer that question. And I don't know if we'll have the baby in Oz, potentially. How can you afford to live in Australia and have your home in South Africa? So we are like a super unique situation, I guess, because everything happened in COVID. I'd already get help anyways from the government for being a stay-at-home mom in Australia, so they give us money, and because of COVID it's a little bit extra. We also found an Airbnb in Australia that wasn't making any money, so they gave us like a rental lease for 8 months, which has helped us so much because it means we don't have to buy furniture. The pricing's also not bad at all, so that's saving us a lot of costs. And then also with kindy here, that's basically the only other thing we have to pay other than food and that's it, just food, I guess, and transport and doing things that we want to do around here. But with kindy, the government gives you like a subsidy, so they pay a majority of the fees, which means you're only left with paying like a really small amount. And schooling in Australia is really, really expensive, especially like compared to South Africa, but the government helps you out. So it actually works out like really well, and we don't have very many costs here, luckily. Like we don't have a car that we have to pay for, or fuel. We use the bus, or we walk, or we borrow one of my parents' cars if we have to go somewhere that's a bit further. So all we really have to pay for is our rent, which is like really, really reduced already. We didn't have to buy furniture or anything, and then I guess food. So without that, I honestly don't know what we would have done. Guess that's how we kind of survive. I feel like this Q&A is like getting kind of long because it's already been like 15 minutes. So I just kind of wanted to round it up and say most of the questions were about immigrating or moving countries, or if we're staying in Australia. And I really don't know what the future is going to hold. We really love Australia, but we also really love South Africa for so many different reasons. I know if we leave here, Australia, we are definitely going to miss my family and just the beautiful environment, the freedom, and the playgrounds and being able to do things here. I'm really, really going to miss that, but we really do want to go back. So stay tuned for what's going to happen. I hope I answered your questions well. Thank you so much for sending them in. I really, really appreciate it. Give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe. I'd really appreciate it, and then we'll see you guys in the next video.